Okay, I shouldn't even have to make these arguments because I feel like it's so obvious. But I will anyway, on the off chance that it penetrates the thick skulls of one of these streamers. Hassan, XQC, Asmongold, Miskiff. I'm just gonna go through and make arguments as to why what they're doing is wrong, debunk a lot of the dumb shit they say. Okay, this is my unhinged React streamers rant where I get overly angry about something relatively trivial. But hey, look, stuff is being stolen, alright? Now, if they wanted to argue like, hey, it shouldn't be up to us to martyr ourselves for no reason and make less money simply because the systems in place right now kind of suck, you know what? I totally get it. Like, that's not fine, but it's okay, whatever. It's the lack of acknowledgement and sometimes the opposite, like the smug righteousness about it that annoys me. But at the end of it, I think they just really don't understand the arguments of why it's wrong. Maybe because the other people who are really vocal about this, who come at it from the other side as a fucking raving psycho in a singlet, and that JXE person who managed to somehow stretch out his points into a boring hour-long video. Okay, I'm sorry, that was unnecessarily harsh. Let me just get to the arguments, because I got this shit down airtight, alright? Just to be clear, the type of content I'm focusing on here is when streamers will just play someone else's video and just slap their webcam in the corner, barely say anything for the runtime, and except like every now and then they'll make a small quippy remark or will laugh or something like that. Right? I consider that theft. But my exposure. That's the first argument you hear them all bring out. Oh, the exposure. They love the exposure. But here's the thing. The amount of meaningful exposure that translates to real audience conversion is super variable. Saying that you provide exposure is not necessarily even true in every case. For example, XQC watches a lot of Jubilee content. At some point, most of XQC's viewers are now aware of what Jubilee is. Each time he watches them, past a certain threshold, maybe that's 20 videos, maybe it's 30 videos, I don't know. But past a certain threshold, that exposure he's providing becomes pretty negligible. Most of XQC's audience already know of Jubilee. They can't know of them or discover them any more than they already have. XQC's audience have also now come to expect that he will react to a lot of their best videos. It is now such a regular occurrence that it is an expectation. Add that on top of the fact that a lot of big content creators react to Jubilee already, and there's suddenly now fewer reasons to watch Jubilee on their own channel. If you've seen someone react to that shit, the next time it might get recommended to you by the YouTube algorithm, you're much less likely to click on it, right? So not only does it take a potential viewer away, but it affects the content's metrics, which hurts future growth, taking away other potential viewers. Now let's imagine you're a fan of both XQC and Jubilee. Your first port of call to watch Jubilee now might actually just be to watch XQC. Now this is just one example of React content not translating very well to additional viewership. There's probably like 50 other variables that influences like how effective that quote-unquote exposure is. And just willy-nilly just watching whatever you want and hoping that it happens to pay off for the other guy, that doesn't seem quite right to me. This is before even mentioning that these quote-unquote reactions, these non-reactions, are often uploaded to YouTube as well, where they directly compete with the original video in the algorithm. Okay, so maybe in some cases they take away potential viewers, alright, fine. But hey, that doesn't change the fact that they often give them a bump in viewership, right? That is just reality. But here's the thing, even if you give them a huge bump in viewership, that creator might even be super grateful for. That exposure might have even completely kickstarted their career. The issue is, you're still possibly exploiting that content creator. Funny thing is, someone like Hassan, a socialist, should really understand this. It's because you might still be shortchanging them compared to the value they brought to the stream. And here's the kicker, the really important part. These reactions can be done in a way where the original creators still get the benefits of the exposure, and there's no chance of you fucking them, of you shortchanging them. And that way is to simply make sure your reaction is transformative. The issue here is that people like Hassan seem to assume that there's only two options. That either he reacts to content for hours on end, and hey, look, if it happens to not be transformative, then fuck it, what are you gonna do, right? Or that he just doesn't engage with it at all. Like, these guys just aren't willing to consider that they can just make it transformative. And they're either lazy or too stupid to realize that. It just requires the streamer to do some work or some preparation. But let's say some crazy video just dropped and chat really wants you to watch it straight away. Now, if you start watching something like that and you realize this is good and you're just not adding much, then after a decent portion, stop watching it on stream and just link it in the chat and say, hey, if you want to see the rest, go check it out. Or I might be back later watching this after I've considered what I want to say and I can be more transformative with this. I see that as a win-win-win. The original creators will get exposure, probably in a much more helpful way, because the audience will actually want to go and see the entire video. Viewers get better content because maybe when you come back and react to it, you'll be more concise with your words, and you get to react to shit. Except the streamer now doesn't get to stall out their stream and rake in ad revenue for ages, just using other people's shit while literally doing absolutely nothing. And the thing is with these arguments, it's not just about the potential harm caused, it's about what's fair. There's a reason why, sports stadiums and sporting events have to pay the rights to play certain music. It's because, like, if you're just going to be using someone else's shit and just playing it straight up to enhance, like, the overall experience of your thing, like, morally, that person should be compensated. Like, we should be encouraging original works of art, right? Or more interesting original content, not just recycles of people just watching other people's stuff. Let's imagine a blockbuster movie, like a Marvel movie, right? In this imagined world, Marvel would like to use some of Hassan's work in their movie, like a 10-minute segment from something he created, right? And they just plop it right in the middle of their movie. No commentary, no editing. They didn't ask permission. Now, you are deluded if you think Hassan wouldn't lawyer the fuck up. Like, he would try and get a slice of that pie fucking faster than an obese kid. Probably, regardless of whatever exposure he may have gotten, but especially if he feels the exposure wasn't an equitable exchange for what his work provided to their product, that movie. That's sort of my general feelings, like my starting point of where I'm coming from. In a nutshell, you can't just steal other people's work without permission, profit off of it, and then roll the dice on whether or not it works out adequately enough for them. Like, what I'm saying should not be remotely controversial, but some of these streamers find it so hard to accept for some reason. But anyway, speaking about all this, I got an interesting email recently. It seems like, YouTube's content ID system, where they recognize whether someone else's content is being used. Historically, I think this has only really been available to, like, big media companies, like the big music groups, the big movie companies. But it seems like now that system, or something similar to that system, is being opened up to normal YouTube partners like me. So if someone else uses a certain amount of footage from your content, that will now be flagged to you, and you can then directly take action. Like, you can contact the person, you can issue a takedown. Now, looking overall at this system being expanded, that seems inevitable to me, right? Like, and I think it's overall a pretty good thing. But it's also kind of scary, because even though I don't like people stealing other people's shit, I also fear things going in the other direction, where things become really draconian, I don't want a situation where, you can use someone else's content, and maybe it's 50-50 on whether you can defend it as fair use, if they were to take you to court or something. But hey, for all intents and purposes, the spirit in which you use their content, it's not just like a straight rip. You're not just stealing from them. You're not taking the piss. Like, I don't want those situations to become abused for people to copyright claim or strike like willy-nilly. And this tool will make that easier. So maybe people go after criticism of them, or a clip that makes them come off in a negative way. But as the systems catch up, I kind of feared that backlash a little bit. I don't think much will change, but yeah, those were my thoughts. Just wanted to put this out there, in case, well, mostly for my sanity, but also in case it gets through to one of these guys' fans or something. All right, that's all for today. Until next time, peace soup.